Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, French magistrates say that a lack of evidence is behind a decision to close a probe into allegations that peacekeeping soldiers abused children in Central African Republic. Also, 2 years after Burkina Faso was hit by its first terrorist attack in which dozens lost their lives in an armed raid on a hotel and cafe in the capital, we catch up with some of those who've tried to rebuild their lives in the wake of the violence. And the WHO said it's worried that there's a high likelihood that an outbreak of cholera in DR Congo could escalate into an epidemic. But first, French investigating magistrates have closed a probe into allegations that French peacekeeping soldiers raped children in the Central African Republic. State prosecutors had called for the case against members of Operation Sangaris to be closed. It wound up in 2016 after spending 3 years in the country.
They were sent to bring security to a country mired in internal conflicts. But when they came back, French troops who were stationed in the Central African Republic had accusations of child sex abuse hanging over their heads. In 2013, French President François Hollande sent a peacekeeping mission named Operation Sangaris to the country. When France withdrew its 2,000-strong force almost 3 years later, the defense minister hailed the operation a success. But on the civilian front, his troops were fighting off allegations of rape. A 2015 internal UN memo leaked to The Guardian revealed the shocking accusations. Foreign soldiers, including those of Operation Sangaris, were suspected of abusing children as young as 9 years old at a displaced persons camp near Bangui Airport. Since then, investigative journalists with the Zero Impunity Project have corroborated reports of troops demanding sexual favors in return for food. Monday, French judges dismissed the case, saying that there was not enough evidence, pointing to the differences in the testimonies of the children. But they added that they cannot be certain no sexual abuse took place either. The soldiers questioned have denied all wrongdoing. The lawyer for the plaintiff, an NGO that fights against child sexual exploitation, is to appeal the decision.
Well, NGO ECPAT International was a civil party in the case and is due to launch an appeal against the decision to close the probe. Earlier, I spoke to Eleanor Kierson about why they hope to pursue the matter further.
Our objective with this appeal is to make sure that all measures are taken to really understand what happened and who is responsible. Because the decision does not say that there is no rape. So for us today, the responsibility of the French justice to guarantee the right for these children to be heard. I would say that it's not only the responsibilities of the Central Africa authorities. Many actors played an important role in this event. For us today, maybe also by making this appeal, we would like all these actors to realize what happened and to make sure that this will not happen again.
2 years ago, on the 15th of January, Burkina Faso was hit by its first terrorist attack. 30 people were killed in armed raids on the splendid hotel and the Cappuccino Restaurant in Ouagadougou. Our correspondents caught up with some of those who've tried to rebuild their lives in the wake of the violence.
Italian-born Gaëtan, the owner of the Cappuccino, has made Burkina Faso his adopted home. But on January 15, 2016, his life changed forever when terrorists killed his wife, son and mother-in-law in front of him.
Something was ripped away from me that day. Something I'll never be able to get back. Something was taken from me. Something was ripped away from me. Even if my arm had been cut off, it wouldn't have hurt that much. I don't feel any hatred against anybody. I just think that they're living a lie. They're living in hypocrisy and tyranny. And the best thing would be to show love, to sit down and talk.
We meet Jacques in the restaurant's kitchen. On the day of the attack, he was shot in the arm. And like many of the victims of that day, he never received any psychological support. Today, he feels abandoned.
I feel anger towards the government because we thought that after the attack, they would do something for the victims, these young, unemployed people. But we've waited in vain.
Despite the attack, the Cappuccino's regulars have returned to the restaurant. They're determined not to bow to terror.
I think they wanted to spread a message of fear. And it affected us. But we're still standing. And we will continue to live and hope for a better tomorrow.
Since the attack on the Cappuccino Restaurant, Burkina Faso has seen more violence and terror. This has led to tens of deaths. At least a third of the victims lost their lives on this street, Avenue Kwame Nkrumah.
In Cameroon, one policeman was reportedly killed over the weekend amidst alleged attacks by rebels calling for a separate state for English-speaking communities in the southwest. The Francophone majority government's come down hard on the separatist drive. Secessionists symbolically declared independence for the so-called region of Ambazonia and are demanding the return of 12 of their leaders detained in Nigeria last week. Zigato Chaya tells us more.
Witnesses on the ground confirmed that the attacks on the schools in the southwest region of Cameroon today was partly because of the fact that the people of the southwest region did not respect the 3 days ghost town as prescribed by the secessionist movement following the arrest of their leader, Sisuku Ayuk Tabe, and many others. Till now, the government of Cameroon and Nigeria made no sign about the whereabouts of these people.
C'est un vrai scandale parce que on ne peut pas faire disparaître.
This is a real scandal because 12 people cannot be disappeared without anyone doing anything. This is a national problem which could have international repercussions. These people have rights that are recognized by international law and Cameroonian law and guaranteed by the Constitution.
The fact that since 10 days after their arrest, no one has succeeded in meeting them, no one has confirmed their destination, families are in anguish, everybody is worried. It has led to more radicalization as a group of fighters came up in the name of Amazonian Tigers and attacked schools as well as decapitated a soldier and kept the whole atmosphere in the southwest region tensed.
Zigato Chaya there for us. Now, the WHO said that it's worried that there's a high likelihood that an outbreak of cholera in DR Congo could escalate into an epidemic. Recent flooding and poor sanitation has exacerbated the risk of the disease spreading in Kinshasa. Nicolas Chemin has more.
Piles of rubbish near Camp Luca, the Kinshasa district at the heart of the cholera epidemic. A lack of toilets and access to water is facilitating the spread of the disease. The situation was only made worse after heavy floods hit the capital earlier this month. More than 10 million people live in Kinshasa. A quarantine centre has been set up in the city.
My mother collapsed during the night. She was vomiting and had bad diarrhea. I'm afraid we might lose her. I'm very worried. She's the only relative I have left. I feel bad.
On Monday, the World Health Organization said it had given 11 tons of medicine to Congo. The government said the situation was worrying.
There have been 531 cases and 32 people have died. It's a high mortality rate. 21 areas out of 35 are affected. This shows the situation is serious and requires a rapid response like the one we're carrying out with the support of the WHO.
The government's critics say a lack of infrastructure and drains is also to blame. Since July, the disease has already killed more than 1,000 people in Congo. It's the worst cholera epidemic in the country in more than 20 years.
Well, for about a decade now, security concerns have kept Mauritania off the list of options for most tourists. France has scaled down the terror threat level in the former no-go zone from red to orange, and tour operators have slowly started to return.
Camels. In Mauritanian Sahara, they're a familiar sight, and increasingly, tourists are too. Tour operators had stayed away for 7 years because of security fears. But now they're returning to Adra, the northeastern region famed for its historical sites and dramatic landscapes.
When you see the first dunes in the distance, gently curved, half-formed, it's a magical moment.
A decade ago, tourism was booming, with 14,000 visitors each year. But the industry suffered a major blow as the country became a no-go zone due to jihadist terror attacks. When France scaled down its danger level from red to orange, the flow of travellers began to return. It's a slow but important restart for the region. The World Heritage Site of Chinguetti had become a ghost town.
We've been in a state of lethargy for nearly a decade. Since the first charter plane arrived, we can see the town coming back to life. We're seeing small stalls selling traditional objects starting to appear, and there are smiles on people's faces.
This month there is more reason to smile, with more than 1,000 people due to visit on organised tours.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Join us again if you can. Take care.